The containment chamber hummed with energy barriers strong enough to hold a starship. Through the reinforced transparasteel, the Galactic Wildlife Conservation Team watched the Varanthian cub pace restlessly. Its scales rippled with iridescent fury, each movement sending tremors through the deck plating. "Full combat shielding online," Drex announced, his 3 eyes fixed on the readouts. The Xelarian scientist's carapace clicked nervously as he adjusted his armor's power settings. Approach vector calculated. Probability of survival, 47%. Cara leaned against the observation console, arms crossed, watching her colleague prepare for what looked like a military assault rather than a veterinary checkup. The human wore nothing more threatening than a casual jumpsuit and work boots. "You're really going in like that?" she asked, gesturing at his full tactical suit. "The cub is only 3 months old, and already capable of tearing through reinforced durasteel," Drex replied, his voice modulated through the helmet's speakers. "Protocol. Demands maximum protection." "Protocol," Cara muttered, shaking her head. She'd been with the Conservation Corps for 2 years now, and she still couldn't get used to how the other species treated young animals like weapons of mass destruction. The rest of the team, 2 Centaurians and a Delphic, were similarly armored, moving with the caution of soldiers entering a combat zone. They'd been trying to sedate the cub for medical examination for 3 days. Each attempt had failed. The young Varanthian was stressed, scared, and growing more aggressive by the hour. "Perhaps we should request a stasis field from the military outpost," one of the Centaurians suggested, her 4 hands gripping a long-range tranquilizer cannon. Cara watched the cub through the viewport. Despite its formidable appearance, all teeth, claws, and armored scales, she saw what the others missed. The slight trembling in its limbs, the way it kept returning to the far corner where its mother's scent still lingered, the plaintive chirps buried beneath the threatening growls. "It's terrified," Cara said softly. "Of course it's terrified. It's a juvenile apex predator separated from its clutch," Drex replied, "which makes it exponentially more dangerous. Stand back, Specialist Cara. We're initiating approach." Cara didn't stand back. Instead, she walked to the equipment locker and pulled out something that made the entire team freeze. "Is that a toy?" The Delphic gasped, its translator struggling with the concept. In Cara's hand was a bright yellow rubber object, roughly the size of her palm, shaped vaguely like an earth duck. She squeezed it experimentally. It released a cheerful squeak that echoed through the observation deck. "Specialist Cara, I must insist," Drex began. But Cara was already moving toward the containment chamber's access hatch. "Open it." "Absolutely not." Open it, or I'll override it myself." Her voice carried the quiet authority of someone who'd made up their mind. "You've been trying your way for 3 days. Give me 5 minutes." The team exchanged worried glances. Finally, Drex's shoulders sagged. "Computer, log that Specialist Cara Morrison is entering against protocol and expert advice. Open hatch 7 Alpha." The seal hissed open. Cara stepped through, the squeaky toy in one hand, the other, empty, and relaxed at her side. Behind her, the hatch sealed, and she heard the muted sounds of the team activating emergency extraction procedures. The Varanthian cub spotted her immediately. It was massive up close, already the size of an earth lion, with scales that shimmered from deep purple to electric blue. Its eyes, all 6 of them, fixed on the tiny human who'd invaded its space. A low rumble built in its chest, vibrations that Cara felt in her bones. "Hey there, little one," Cara said, her voice soft and steady. She didn't approach directly. Instead, she sat down cross-legged on the floor, making herself smaller, less threatening. The cub's growl intensified. It showed teeth designed to crunch through starship hulls. Cara squeezed the toy. Squeak. The growl stopped. 6 eyes blinked in confusion. Squeak. Squeak. The cub tilted its massive head, curiosity overriding fear for just a moment. One clawed foot took a tentative step forward. "That's right," Cara murmured. "Just a weird noise. Nothing scary." She squeezed it again, then gently tossed it a few feet to her left. The toy bounced once, squeaked. The transformation was immediate. The cub's aggressive posture melted into something altogether different. Its tail, which had been lashing dangerously, began to wag, not with aggression, but with the universal language of a young creature seeing something interesting. It pounced. The floor shook with the impact. Massive claws, each one capable of eviscerating an armored soldier, carefully pinned the toy. The cub lowered its head and sniffed. Then, with surprising gentleness, it picked up the toy in its mouth. Squeak. The cub jumped back, startled by the noise it had created. Then it bit down again. Squeak. Its entire demeanor shifted from predator to playful. It shook its head, making the toy squeak repeatedly, then dropped it and looked at Cara with something approaching delight. "Good catch," Cara said, smiling. She slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out another toy, a green one shaped like a earth frog. She squeezed it. Different squeak. The cub's eyes widened. It chirped a sound of pure juvenile excitement and bounded toward her. "Cara, evacuate now." Drex's voice crackled through the intercom, panic evident. But Cara stayed seated as several tons of predator charged straight at her. At the last second, the cub skidded to a stop, scales scraping against the deck. It lowered its head to her level, eyes fixed on the new toy, and made a soft questioning sound. Cara laughed and tossed the toy. The cub spun and chased it. All traces of stress and aggression gone. For the next 4 minutes, while the galactic team watched in stunned silence, a human played fetch with one of the universe's most dangerous creatures. Eventually, the cub, exhausted and happy, flopped down next to Cara. It rested its enormous head on her lap and began to purr a sound like distant thunder. Cara gently ran her hand along its scales, checking for injuries, feeling for abnormalities. The cub didn't stir. When she gestured to the observation window, Drex slowly brought the medical scanner online, running diagnostics through the chamber's systems. "All readings normal," he reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "Better than normal. Stress hormones have dropped to baseline." Cara stood carefully, and the cub rolled onto its back. Both toys clutched in its claws, squeaking them contentedly. She walked to the hatch and knocked. It opened. The team stared at her as if she'd just walked out of a supernova. "It's a baby," Cara said simply. "Babies need play, not combat protocols." She held up the squeaky toys. Sometimes the scariest creatures in the universe just need someone who isn't scared of them. Drex slowly removed his helmet, his expression cycling through confusion, awe, and finally, grudging understanding. "Humans," he said, shaking his head. "You approach juvenile apex predators with toys. And you approach them like enemies," Cara replied, not unkindly. "Maybe that's the difference." Behind them, the Varanthian cub squeaked its toy and chirped happily, finally at peace.